Hey there, everyone. This is Chris McDonald. It is 12 o'clock on the last day of February, it looks like. So happy February. Um, we are going to be talking today on RunSignup's fast registration um, and how to set that up. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. We still have a few people joining us, so um, hopefully they have an easy time getting in. And for those of you that have not used GoToWebinar before, I think all of you at this point probably have been on one, but you have a panel on the right-hand side. You can ask questions. I've got Shelly Harris on with me. And so if there's any questions that several people are asking, we will stop and answer those. So we'll dive right in and go ahead and get into RunSignup's fast registration. So registration is part of RunSignup's Race Day Suite. It's the top part. We talk a lot about results and scoring and race joy and check-in and bibs, even some on photos. And on the race day side, we don't speak that much about registration because most of it falls under the purview of the RunSignup side of things. And so most of you are very familiar with RunSignup, how registration works on that end. But once you get to race day and things need to be streamlined, there are processes that you can put in place as a timer or suggestions you can make to the race director to help streamline that packet pickup experience. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about what it is and then how to set it up. And I apologize, I'm going to sneeze here in a second. So what is fast registration? It's a setup mode within RunSignup that allows users to remove any unnecessary or additional questions, features, and or requirements to speed up the reg process. Really easy to set up. It can be set up to be mobile only via kiosk mode or all. It can also be set to specific times as well. And so the big thing here is you're reducing lines and getting data entered quickly. For those of you that are still taking paper registrations, this might be a great way to kind of transition away from paper reg. Now, many of you might say, well, you know, this is just how we've always done it. But you got to remember, I mean, we used to cut out registration out of the newspaper for 5Ks. For those of you that are, you know, not in your 20s, that is something that really used to happen. Or pull things off of flyers or what have you. So this is a great way to transition that race day data entry to electronic registrations, all your finances in one place. And for you, the timer, an easier way to pull data in from one central source. So how does this improve race day? We kind of already talked about that, but we're improving the race day experience. And we talk about this a lot. Happier participants creates repeat participants. And by lowering the barrier of entry, more athletes will register and participate with a positive outlook on the event. Now, this is super important. And I don't have the data sitting in front of me, but there is direct correlation with how hard it is to register for an event if people complete registration. And so if you remove, especially on race day, you know, nobody's going to be a fundraiser on race day. They might donate $5, but they're not going to create a fundraising team. They're not going to, you know, they don't need to answer the 50 questions about, you know, what their favorite color is and stuff like that. It's more get the person in, help them with their transaction, and get them to the start line. And so nobody likes to stand in line. And I put this last part because it's personally a pet peeve of mine, and I think a lot of people agree. You might not like to stand in line, but you definitely don't like to stand in line if you're trying to give somebody money. Like, you should never have to stand in line to give people money. And so again, just streamlining that piece of the puzzle helps the athlete experience so they don't start the race with a bad taste in their mouth. So how do we set this up? Well, we're going to get into this in a second. There's a lot of different pieces of this. You'll be able to enable quick registration and aside from the one-click registration option, there's a lot of different things you can do. They break down into 3 specific categories. Skipping certain fields, and this will allow you to remove any or all of the fields listed from your reg process. You need to be very careful as this will restrict data collection. And we're going to say that a lot. It's at the bottom, like like by removing things, you can do this in skip sections, but you need to be careful when you use this. You can skip certain steps, and these certain steps will allow you to remove any or all of the entire steps for the registration process. And you can skip certain custom questions. So this will allow you to remove any or all of the custom questions from race registration. So again, important. I'm going to slow down on this one. This feature will speed up registration, which is positive. You will want to be careful when changing the settings for this feature, as they will result in limiting the amount of information that you collect from your registrants. Why am I talking slowly now? Because a lot of races will put category information into custom questions, such as, are you a first responder? Yes or no? Maybe they have a first responder division. So please, please, please don't just turn this on and remove all custom questions, because what you're going to do is you could accidentally remove something that you would need for scoring or to run a report on. If it's like the fastest athlete in the county, or like maybe there's a Clydesdale or Athena division that's set up as a custom question, or you select you want age instead of birth date, and you need to know the fastest person that's born in July or something like that. So again, it is nice to be able to remove things that you don't need, but you really need to look into what you do need before you just remove everything. So how do you get there? We've got this nice little thing going. It's under race, registration. So race, registration, and then fast registration options. So race, registration, fast registration options. And then you've got several different settings underneath that, and we're going to go through each one of those. So hopefully you guys see that. I'm going to let it play one more time. Race, registrations, or registration, sorry, fast registration options. So this is what it looks like without scrolling around, and you've got several different settings here. You've got mobile registration options, enable fast registration by date, fast registration URL, and on-site registration options. So we're going to go through each one of these individually. And we're going to click through because I really like these things. So the Avery and Kevin made some really cool GIFs, and I just like them clicking around because you can actually see when you click things how it extends for each one of these. So fast registration by URL, you've got your URL there, and it truncates as well. So, and you see how they click custom questions. You can select specific custom questions to skip, and then you save your settings. So let's go through these. So your fast registration options, sorry. When you click mobile, as soon as you click mobile, it opens up this side of things. You can enable quick registration mode on mobile, and that will apply to any person's screen where the width is no greater than 599 pixels. So if it's 600 or larger, then it's not considered mobile for pixelation. So once you click on it, you now have the ability to skip fields, steps, and you have additional options. So number one out of all of these, if you're trying to do fast registrations, is this one right here. Allow participants to register without creating an account. It is number one biggest headache on race day if you just leave a computer up on RunSignup and allow people to register. Just normal path. They're going to say, I don't want to create a password. I just entered in a password 4 times, blah, 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 blah. They're going to be frustrated. So what do? You use these fast registration options. Each one of them has the ability to allow participants to register without creating an account. Very, very important. After that, you can kind of skip whatever you want. So as soon as I enable, I skipped every single thing except for gender and date of birth. Why? Because those are 2 things I need to score. However, if we want to take, if we have some custom questions, we can unclick that and it truncates out or elongates, I guess I should say, to all the possible custom questions. Giveaway is something you might want to still leave in there. For a lot of events, it's your t-shirt size. So again, it's something you just want to think through before you just click on everything. Now, the reality is you're probably going to not have fundraiser. You're always going to have fundraiser selected. Maybe you don't care about their street address. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll remove their street address, but I'll leave their city, state, and zip code. Why? Because they get to their zip code first and they can type in their zip code and it auto populates their city state. And I always like the way city state looks in results. That's just me. Now, I don't usually care as much when I own the event as to whether or not I have a street address. I'm rarely mailing things to people unless we're doing fulfillment. Phone number, I'm rarely calling people unless we have an issue. So now custom questions, we might have emergency contact and emergency phone number. So we might want to unclick that and make sure those two things are still filled in case we have a medical situation on site. So we can also collect age instead of date of birth. The moment we click this, this goes away. So if you want to only select age, that's fine too. And keep in mind, if you're doing something like a USA Triathlon event or a series event that age is based on the first day or the last day of the series, you will want to make sure you're still collecting date of birth. Again, I keep going back to the same thing. Make sure you're not removing data that you might need. So mobile registration options is the first thing. Let's go to the second thing. Enable fast registration by date range. So when we click that, this opens up. It looks very, very similar, except for we have these dates. Well, what does that mean? That means that from this date to this date and this time to this time, everyone who registers will go through fast registration mode. They don't have to be on mobile. They don't necessarily have to be on a kiosk or something like that. And usually what people will do is set this so only to race morning, because most people are not registering at home on a computer an hour before a race. They're on site. So it has all the same pieces of the puzzle that you can click and change. And so we don't need to review all these skip fields, skip steps, and view additional options. So keep in mind, you can enable quick registration by date, which will apply the settings to all the people who register between the start and end date, including those on mobile. So as we keep going back to any field steps and/or custom questions that are skipped here will be skipped for mobile, quick and fast, and expo mode until the end date passes. And then finally, fast registration URL. Now, before you do anything, before you even enable it, you've got a URL right here. And you can see for this event, the event ID is 83521. Whenever you talk to an account manager or a support person, they're probably going to ask you what your 5 or 6 digit event ID is. And that's how you know what your quick reg URL is. You do have to enable it. Now this, you don't have to turn it on by date. This is if you're going to use like a kiosk or a computer on site. There's another way to do this, but this quick reg is a quick and easy way to do it without having to set up on-site registration tools. But we're going to go through on-site reg as well. So again, this is the URL. If you have a bunch of Chromebooks, this is the URL you would go to on other Chromebooks once this is enabled. And again, you can limit everything you want. So then we have that last piece, and that is on-site registration options. So this is what it says right underneath. To customize information collection for on-site registration, please click here. So the moment we click that, we get this is what it looks like. So users are not automatically logged in after registering. The next registration button shows on the confirmation screen. And so there's this on-off toggle and you save changes. So the moment you hit that on-off toggle, boom, it starts to open things up underneath. You have an on-site registration link and password. So you can copy that link by clicking here, or you can scan, if it's on a mobile device, you can scan this to open registration for on-site reg on a mobile device. You can set a password. Password should be pretty easy. I usually put my password hint as exactly what my password is. The other optional settings down below for this on-site registration are cash payments, bib assignment screen, restrict events, customize required fields, and then on-site registration only. We're going to go through each one of these individually. So cash payments, once you turn this on, what this does is it allows you to take offline payments. So if you have someone who's at packet pickup, who is going to be your registrar and take cash payments or take checks or what have you, you can set this up, and it's essentially a code that somebody can type in at the very, very end of registration. So you wouldn't share this out to your athletes, only your registrar. They would take that $20 bill and then they would walk over to that kiosk and they would type in whatever the cash password is. Sometimes it's cash, or sometimes it's, turkey or turkey2 or something like that. You make this password, but just know if somebody knows this password, they can register without officially paying. So if you don't take someone's money, RunSignup is not going to follow up with that person saying, hey, you didn't pay. We're assuming if somebody puts in this cash password that you took their money. So keep that in mind. The next thing down, show bib assignment screen. So this allows the manual entry of a bib number at on-site registration. So if you're wanting to use on-site registration and assign bib numbers at that same time, this is what you would do. Now, there's a lot of other ways to assign bib numbers. You can do it at time of registration, which automatically assigns from that bib pool. We've talked about those at length. But if you're wanting a screen to pop up where you're automatically or where you're manually assigning a bib number, you're picking a race day bib up and you're typing in 1, 2, 3, 4 or whatever the bib number is and hitting enter, then it's going to save it into the system. So basically what this does is it precludes that person from needing to go over to regular packet pickup. Now, there's a lot of different schools of thought here. Personally, I think you don't show the bib assignment screen here. You take their money and then force them to go and get in line at packet pickup using the check-in app. Why? Because sometimes there's a line, and if this person goes over and registers quickly and they're in and out before somebody that went to pick up their thing regularly, it kind of gives that person who registered early a bad taste in their mouth. So by forcing everyone into that same packet pickup line, it kind of negates those bad feelings that others might feel, or resentment if they get in and out faster. So again, this is just for bib assignment, and it allows you to assign that bib as people are walking up. Restrict events. Now, this is nice if you say have a virtual option or a fun run option where you're not allowing people to register on site. Or you have triathlon events like, say, these, and then you maybe had 5K events. Well, for the triathlon events, maybe you need to get all of that because it's a USAT sanctioned event. So you need them to go through the RTAV process, and you need for them to sign all the waivers, etc. And so then you enable on-site registration for only the running events. And the running events, you don't need that much stuff. Like, you're getting that waiver signed, but you don't need them to go through the RTAV. So you might only click specific events here. So it's really nice for parsing things out as needed. Then you have customized required fields. As soon as you click, I want to customize what information I collect, well, I'll be darned. Look at that. It's all the same thing that we've seen over and over and over again. It's the exact same thing. Now, again, personally, I like to always collect gender, date of birth, email, and a lot of times I'll leave city, state, zip code unchecked, and I'll leave giveaway unchecked. I always make sure I have allow participants to register without creating an account. And again, personally, I like leaving date of birth instead of age, but others feel differently. The last thing at the bottom, you see show bib assignment, restrict events, customize bib required field or required fields, is this on-site registration only. If you click that thing on, this is going to pop up. You are enabling on-site registration only setting. This will close online registration through your race website. Are you sure? This is a very important one. If you do this and you have a QR code set up, no one's going to be able to register to that QR code. Nobody's going to be able to register at home on their computer. Nobody's going to be able to register on their own device. they're going to have to use your kiosks. Now, if that's what you want, then by all means, please click yes, enable. If that's not what you want, then hit cancel and do not use this. There are some scenarios where people want this. There's a lot more scenarios where people don't want this. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to turn on-site registration only on for on-site registration options, you need to make sure you're using this appropriately. So that is on-site registration, or not on-site registration. That is all of fast registration. So, and we went through fast registration pretty fast, but part of that's because all of those settings have the exact same fields that you're manipulating. You just need to choose A, what fields it's okay for you to manipulate and not show, and B, what method you want that for. So if you only want people with mobile devices not to have to register with all the information, that's fine. But all of these, or through a certain date, or again, through that special URL, or with the on-site reg options. So with that being said, either I crushed it with explaining that all to you, or I went so fast your head's spinning. So are there any questions? I don't see any.
So far there isn't, but I think you crushed it.
Me too. I'll hang loose for a second, just in case. I see somebody with their hand up. I don't know what that means, but
I think they meant yeah, you crushed it.
Oh, gotcha. So Richie, if you have a, oh, okay, hold on one sec. So when it's orange or white, give me one sec. Let me see if I can get this question right. So when it's orange or white is the accurate way to skip. So I think you're, ooh, sorry, let me go back there. So yeah, skip these fields. So if it's selected, if it's orange, that means you're planning on skipping that field. If it's white, you're going to leave that field in the registration path. And that is across all of these. So if it's selected, so restrict to these events. The orange is the selection. So again, if you're restricting to these events and I only click individual click this one, then on-site registration options are only going to be turned on for this specific event. So just, you can look at the top of each one of these for what that means. So skip these fields, additional options. So these are just on-off toggles, and orange is on. Let's see, where do we find the QR code for quick registrations? So, all right, give me one sec. So QR code, now I will say this, a lot of people get confused on this. This is on your on-site, this is when you turn on-site registration options on. Now, this is not it. This is not what you're sharing. Send this link to any device you want to use for on-site registration. So this is what you, the timer, uses if you're going to set up additional devices for registration. So don't use this one. Now, what I can do, let's see if I can just go into got a test event open here. So what I do a lot of times is I go into, I think it is promotions, participants, email marketing, promotion, links. I'll leave that page. So if I scroll down on this promotions, again, promotion, links, if I scroll down, sign up link, small, medium, large. So there's a lot of different things on here too. If you need QR codes for results for this event, boom, as a timer. We don't really talk about this page very much, but it is a helpful one to have so you don't have to create your own QR codes. There's a QR code for results for this event. We have volunteer links, all kinds of fun things on here, photos, homepage, donations, etc. So anyone on a mobile device that goes to the page and goes to sign up, they're going to get pushed to that. So let me go back to my slide deck and we'll open up the questions. If you have date of birth, does it also show calculated the age? So it doesn't for them, it does for you. So you can export age, but they don't, like if you have date of birth selected, it's not going to show them their age. And as we all know, a lot of people get really, really dense on race morning, and so they'll put in like 2023 as their birth year. So, and there's some circumstances where, you know, age might be easier for you to pull in. Our next one is, let's see, I'm trying to go through these in order. BIV assignment at on-site registration, will they also be checked in? Will race director import if they're not checked in? So number one, race director does not care if they're not checked in at all. Race director, race day scoring, any API call does not care if they're checked in or not. It is an FYI. It is a nice data point to have. It does not restrict any API calls. So now you also have a feature within check-in. See if I can go to this. That is kind of getting into a little bit of the, but race day tools, race day check-in. And I believe, give me one sec, I have to think about this. It might be bulk check-in here, and it's check in any participant with a bib number. So there you go. So that's available if you're doing dynamic bib on site through the link. Let's see, give me one sec. Kind of have to toggle back and through these. What is the benefit of turning on-site reg? Would you recommend no turning on-site reg and keep fast reg? So personally, I like on-site reg, which is like at expos. It is a great way of getting people to register quickly. And as soon as they're done registering, it has a button for next registration. It never, like all of these don't log people in, but for on-site reg, I use that a lot at expos. So let's see, perfect. So that link would go to standard registration or quick. Yes, so that link that we showed would go to standard registration or quick registration as long as you have whichever one set up. Correct. Good questions, guys. Normally it's like radio silence. I'm impressed. Well, and that may have covered it. I think we've probably gotten questions on each part, and I hope that with those questions and answers, you guys feel more confident in using fast registration and on-site registration. Again, I kind of use the term interchangeably just because on-site reg is so, it's built the exact same way as fast reg. So now on-site reg is only going to be used like at the event. Fast reg, you could turn that on the night before, and that way people registering at home also get those fast reg options. I'm not the biggest fan of that just because if they're at home, nobody's behind them, nobody's saying, hey, hurry up. Let's collect all the data we can if they're at home. If they're on site, let's grind. Let's get that data in so they get to the start line, so the volunteers aren't overloaded and everybody has a good day. So cool. I don't see any other questions coming in. So thank you guys for joining us today. There's a quick one. Oh, let's see. We've got a couple other ones. How does race director see a participant sign up? how does race director see a participant sign up and run sign up, but for some reason doesn't get a bib number assigned? So if there's not a bib number assigned at run sign up, they're not, I mean, it's going to pull down with no bib number. So if there's a lag, because obviously if you check somebody in, that information has to be pushed up to the run sign up database. And then your race director has to pull that down. Now, I will say this, if you're still using race director, you should really check into race day scoring, because race day scoring bidirectionally syncs, meaning you can sync that in advance, and if somebody checks that person in later, then it will auto sync back down. Rob's not liking my selling race day scoring, but I'm going to keep poking you until you switch over. So when a volunteer forgets to assign the bib, there's that person, the data point is still going to pull down, like the participant data is still going to pull down, but since it has no bib number, then the chip read is going to show up as an unknown bib read until that is fixed. So just keep that in mind. And then let's see. Eva, on-site reg turns off the ability to register on your own device. That is not correct. So it's close. So on-site reg is all of this. If you click this button at the very, very bottom of on-site reg that says on-site registration only, that's the one that this big pop-up pops up. And if you click yes, enable, then yes, now you're correct in saying anyone that tries to register, it's going to say, there's a big pop-up on the registration page, no matter if you're on mobile or whatever, and it says this registration for this event is limited to on-site registration only. And so I would not turn this on unless you really, really want to. It could be a very big problem, because if you turn this on 3 months out, no one's going to be able to register for your event until they show up on site. So again, that's why that huge pop-up is there, and it says yes, enable. So just keep that in mind. Don't just go clicking through this stuff. It will foul up registration if you're not meaning to do that. So right on. All right, guys and girls. Hope this was a fun, quick one for you. And I think we have a guest speaker next week. So more information will be coming out about that this week. I'm sure if Shelly hasn't already, she'll be sending out an email for registration, etc. But thank you guys for joining me today. I appreciate it. And best of luck with your 2023 events. Looking forward to it. Take care.